Welcome back, everyone. Last time, we began our search for a secret, rational motivation for all of Stannis' adventures, assessed the sorry state of the Baratheon dynasty, and made a wild claim about Renly's peach. Now we turn our attention to determining just how exactly the sweet fruit could really be Renly's offer to bend his knee to Stannis as king. And why not? This is the Game of Thrones we're playing here. What's sweeter than being king? Renly's been enjoying it. So what's the hang-up? Isn't that what Stannis wants? Yes and no. Stannis offered pretty good terms along these lines. He would forgive Renly's upstart claim, make him his master of laws, let him keep the family megacastle, and even name him his heir. But, genuine offer though it may be, none of the above addresses the central political dispute that has actually brought the brothers to war. Of course, Renly's second offer, the first being the peach, was also genuine. So if it's Storm's End you want, take it, as a brother's gift. Like Stannis, Renly too is ready to give up the castle if his brother will bend his knee. He really would like to sit that Iron Throne. Even so, he would never have taken the extraordinary step of declaring himself king ahead of his elder brother were it not for his disagreement with Stannis over something even more important to him than personally becoming king. Renly embarks on his feats of diplomacy in the Reach, hoping they might sway his brother over to his thinking on this central matter and convince him to either kneel or meet Renly's most important terms. The peach, then, is a brotherly reminder of a previous offer to bend, or perhaps an earnest last-chance proposition to renounce his own very recent claim and bring the Reachmen and Stormlanders over to his brother's cause. In any case, it can only be delivered in metaphor because even entertaining publicly the idea of submitting to Stannis conflicts with and undermines his own public political program, his backup plan to become king himself. One can't go around proclaiming oneself monarch and then be seen negotiating away one's crown. Renly's stated motivations, that he's better suited to being king and better able to win the throne than unlovable Stannis, are actually just that: his political platform, his campaign messaging. This is all reason enough not to discuss the peach more plainly in front of Cat, but there's also the reader to think about. Indeed, the literary necessity for Renly's proclaimed attitudes toward Stannis, himself, and the throne are similar to that of Stannis' complaints and pronouncements to his counselors. The author means for us to think of Renly as vain, overconfident, and impulsive, and of Stannis as intransigent, malcontent, and fanatical. Two irrational siblings hurtling toward mutual destruction. But there's much more going on between them. So for multiple reasons, this is not a discussion they can have in front of the whole gang. It's a real predicament. So what's the big political secret at the center of both Stannis and Renly's strategic thinking and the intractable disagreement setting them at odds? What's the doom Stannis sees coming and is throwing Hail Mothers to avoid? What would force a man who lives in a castle on his own island to act so rashly? Or a younger brother to declare himself king? What would transform a somewhat uneven match between three claimants to a flailing dynasty into a nearly hopeless struggle for mere survival? What secret that none of our point of view heroes know about in A Clash of Kings? I guess we'll have to wait for a future book. For any of our heroes to learn about the coming Targaryen restoration. In A Clash of Kings, our point of view heroes seem to assume that the present state of war will end with one Baratheon claimant or another secure on the Iron Throne. We know better now, but Stannis has known for some time. Aegon is coming. Halfway through A Dance with Dragons, we are, through Tyrion's point of view, let in on a phenomenal secret. There is a massive, long-running, and well-placed conspiracy for Targaryen restoration on the brink of committing its forces to retake Westeros. It's placed inside the highest levels of governance in the Seven Kingdoms. It's financed by some of the wealthiest people in the world. It's got an army. And loyal houses already paving the way? For the reader, it comes out of nowhere 15 years after the publication of A Game of Thrones. A major twist, which, though duly foreshadowed, the humble reader could never have seen coming. And from the start, the secrecy of the plot is stressed to us. The crew of the Shy Maid is coy with Tyrion, even in their own midst. And later, In John Connington's point of view, we learn that Varys has imposed strict secrecy on both Connington's own person and the whole operation of raising the apparent, and apparently alive, son of Rhaegar. But even this is quickly undermined. The Golden Company leadership knows all about Aegon, and who can say for how long. This kind of massive political undertaking will need preparation and require allies to succeed. We have every reason to assume Aegon's cause has been at work in Westeros for some time. It's presumably the reason Varys has dangerously maintained an intelligence network from within the Red Keep itself. We can guess that his work extends outside the walls of King's Landing. There are reasons to suppose that Riverlanders like Raymond Derry and the Brotherhood Without Banners, well-placed insiders like Orton Merryweather, and watchful plotters like Doran Martell are variously in league with the Aegon cause, being used by them, or at least aware of their secret. It's all something to get into later, but the point is, they can't be alone. Indeed, if we simply allow for the likelihood that many of the savviest political operators in Westeros understand that the place-holding Baratheons are finished, that the restoration of the 300-year founding dynasty has always been all but inevitable, that clever players have ways of finding out about massive secret political machinations, a lot of pieces begin to fall into place. Players like Stannis and through Stannis Renly, as well as Doran Martell and perhaps Balon Greyjoy or the Tyrells and others, know that Aegon VI Targaryen is on his way to recreate Aegon the Conqueror's original act of state building. Those who know would act accordingly and according to their own interest. They are playing the Game of Thrones with much more information than our point-of-view heroes. This is the secret intelligence which drives Stannis' seemingly irrational strategy. Not only does Stannis know Aegon is on the way, he is convinced of his all but inevitable victory. How can the weak, infested, and disgraced Baratheon dynasty possibly cobble together a defense against half the realm when it rises only to kneel to the Targaryen king?
There are still those in the Seven Kingdoms who call me usurper. Do you forget how many houses fought for Targaryen in the war? They bide their time now, but give them half a chance and they will murder me in my bed, and my sons with me. If the beggar king crosses with a Dothraki horde at his back, the traitors will join him.
And where would that leave Stannis? He and his whole family, Renly, Shireen, they're all usurpers. Under the coming new order, they're as good as dead. If Stannis knows what's coming, then everything he's done, every chance taken, may have a rational motivation. Pressing his long-shot claim may be part of his strategy to avoid being slaughtered by Aegon. If he does nothing, he's done for. So he's acting. It's preferable to certain doom. And he does have a plan. So, what's Renly's problem? Where's the big disagreement? Both brothers are willing to compromise their own desires and make Stannis king. That's right. Stannis won't let us forget he never wanted the Iron Throne.
It's not a seat where a man can rest at ease. Ofttimes I wonder why my brothers wanted it so desperately.
Why would you want it then? Davos asked him.
It's not a question of wanting.
Oh, it's not?
The throne is mine, as Robert's heir. That is law.
Well, that's true, sure, in a way. But it's crazy, and it's why we think he's a fanatic. Unless, even though he clearly never wanted this, Stannis' strategy for surviving Aegon necessitates pressing his claim to the throne. In a way, he's simply being proactive. As mere Lord of Dragonstone, he will be in an even weaker position against an ascendant Aegon than he is against the Lannisters. Thus, he must use and hold on to the best tool in his belt for accruing military and political power, his claim to the Baratheon throne. Renly, for his part, was willing to kneel to Stannis and help him gain the power they both need to survive, or would have been, but for their serious disagreement on exactly how to deal with Aegon. With this one condition left unmet, Renly feels he must himself claim the throne to meet the challenge of Targaryen restoration, with or without Stannis by his side. Thus the brotherly conflict and the confusing peach incident. They each have a plan for confronting Aegon, but they disagree on how. Consider the two very different men at the parley, and why they want to be king. Renly never knew Targaryen rule, never knew Aerys or Rhaegar. All he knows are Robert's hateful rages and the anti-Targaryen atmosphere they likely fostered. Renly looks up to Robert. People tell him he could be Robert all the time. He believes in Robert and his rebellion. He believes in himself, in his personal charisma, and his now proven faculty for forging alliances. And he was willing to bring it all to bear to put Stannis on the throne. He's one of those knights of summer, if not really a fighter or commander. He's a dreamer, a risk-taker, the Copper King with little real power of his own. And he, unlike Stannis, thinks he would enjoy being king. Stannis has always done his duty, obeying his liege lord and elder brother, both during the war for the rebellion and in its continuing defense and administration. But he never liked the idea. Aerys, if you only knew. That was a hard choosing. My blood or my liege, my brother or my king. Meaning, if Robert had not forced that choice, Stannis would have remained loyal to the Targaryens, if not necessarily the Mad One. In truth, though he doesn't spell it out, we can guess that he was, like many, probably a Targaryen, but that's something to get into later. Importantly, he's never wanted to be king, he says so. It's not Renly standing in the way of the throne that so offends Stannis. It's that Renly refuses to obey his elder brother in a matter of strong political disagreement. Stannis went against his own political conscience and followed Robert despite a very similar difference of opinion in the matter of what to do about the Mad King Aerys. No one likes Stannis, and he has demonstrated that the banners of the realm will not flock to him. He's militarily capable and, I argue, an astute political operator, wiser than his younger brother and a shrewder player of the Game of Thrones. Lastly, Stannis never much liked Robert. So if he never wanted to be king, why not take Renly's second offer? He could have all he ever wanted if he would kneel. Storm's End, the Stormlands, and he could still be useful at his brother's side, taking down the Lannisters. Why not eat the peach? He gets what he's told the entire realm he wants. He gets all the power of Highgarden, all the chivalry of the Reach and the Stormlands at his back and Renly at his side, and all to cast out the Lannisters and put him on the throne. He gets what Renly has been enjoying on his slow progress from Highgarden. He gets all the sweetness of being king. There is a possible reason, a rational reason not to eat the peach. It's the same reason not to kneel. Even assuming Renly could shore up the paper stag of the Baratheon dynasty by getting the Tyrells to kneel to his brother before or after his own declaration, Stannis still can't eat the fruit if he strongly believes it won't be enough to forestall Targaryen restoration or save any of their lives. Renly's alliance with the Tyrells is meant to impress Stannis, to convince him that the two of them, in spite of Stannis' deficient popularity and lack of social graces, can muster a force to take on not just the Lannisters, but Aegon as well. When he declared his claim, he knew Stannis didn't want to be king. In some sense, he thought he was doing him a favor. More importantly, Renly believes in the continuing viability of Robert's rebellion. He thinks they can win. But the Highgarden Horde does nothing to sway Stannis. In fact, he likely suspects the Tyrells, for whom Renly has exchanged the Lannisters as a new source of displaced and unaccountable Baratheon power, are also preparing for the inevitable ascension of Aegon. Stannis figures when the time comes they plan to sit King Renly down on the throne for a little chat. They may be planning to give Aegon what he needs most to unite Westeros. And who would stop them? How does one unite Westeros? Aegon the Conqueror roasted some armies and melted some castles, but largely he accepted a lot of bended knees and the crowns of kings. What better position for the Tyrells to be in when Aegon lands than to deliver him not only the Iron Throne and King's Landing, but the bended knee of the usurper king and the crown right off the head of the stag? Stannis is keeping his own counsel about all this, but he may just have a master plan. Phase 1 would be to press his claim to the throne as best he can. However long his shot of ever ruling over all of Westeros, he must press his claim. If he doesn't, he loses it. To say and do nothing is to accede to Joffrey as king, permanently handing him all the potential power of the Baratheon claim just when Stannis will need it most, on the occasion of Aegon's ascension. But it's not just symbolic power he's after. Stannis must win territories and allegiances, men and armies and navies, castles. He has to do what it looks like he's doing. Conquer. Accept the bended knees of lords. Stannis' master plan is to keep alive the symbolic power of his claim while also using it to amass whatever material, military power he can. All in anticipation of confronting Aegon VI Targaryen in a battle of wind. Rash and courageable Renly's peach is the Iron Throne, the sweetness of wearing the crown, the gift from Highgarden of the power to take it, and the condition that Stannis swear to actually keep and defend it. Stannis, wiser and savvier as he is, needs the power of his conquests and crown so he can battle Aegon with words. He plans to negotiate. He means to bargain for his life and that of his family, and depending on how much he has to offer, perhaps even Storm's End, or, in his wildest dreams, a marriage for Shireen. And, naturally, assumption of all legitimate Baratheon crown debt to the Iron Bank by the new Targaryen throne. For all that and less, Stannis has always, at least since Robert's death, intended to bend his knee to Aegon. He hopes that his claim, the Baratheon crown, is just the sort of offering Aegon will be looking for as he recapitulates the conquest. It's only by keeping that claim alive that he will have it later to offer up. And if he can give Aegon a host of banners and the bended knees of sundry lords from somewhere in the Seven Kingdoms, if he can add to his army and offer himself as a commander along with his crown, perhaps he can make a deal. A deal Renly wants nothing to do with, and will fight first Stannis and then Aegon to prevent. Stannis figures if he's lucky and if the new Targaryen really needs what he's got to offer, Stannis and Aegon together can neatly close the book on the short blip of the Baratheon years, peacefully handing over the throne as if the whole thing was a placeholder. As if they'd been stewards who'd come in and held the realm together for a few years after a moment of Targaryen weakness and collapse. And any Baratheon loyalty in the realm could effectively be voided and forsworn. Stannis followed Robert in his rebellion against the Targaryens because it was Robert's place to decide. Now, by rights, it's Stannis' choice. He's chosen his duty to act for the good of his family and the realm. He wants only to make the right choice now for everyone, and also, in some way, to right the wrong choice made 16 years earlier when Robert claimed the throne for himself and made war on Rhaegar. This concludes merely the introductory segments of Moonman's Stannis, That Peach, and the Battle of Wind. There's a lot more detail to get into, a lot of obvious questions to answer, claims to justify, and some more revelations to come in Part 3 and beyond. What does this mean for how we think of Stannis and his story? What else, who else can we understand better if we guess that other players also know of Aegon's coming? What about that wily and mysterious rogue, Mance Rayder? Better yet, what about that ambitious and inscrutable trickster, Littlefinger? Hell, how about the Great John Umber? Do you want to know more? You know what the buttons do. I'm Greg, aka Moonman, and you are probably not buying any of this. See you soon.